Hey everybody, welcome back to the MCU after 3 months. Welcome back to the Unqualified Film Bros podcast after a week. Welcome back to our reviews after 2 weeks. We are back to talk about, as I've hinted in the last 12 seconds, Thunderbolts, aka the new Avengers. Gentlemen, this was a breath of fresh air in the MCU, in my opinion, but I want to hear your thoughts. What'd you think?
A nice way to describe it, I guess. You know, they released that like really funny trailer like detailing everybody that worked at A24 and sort of all the accomplishments of the creative team behind this film.
They did
And
that as a bit.
I remember Jake Schreier, he was talking and in an interview and he said, I did that as a joke and I sent it to Kevin. And he's like, we have to do this. That might have been one of the best marketing things that they did for this movie, and it was an accident. Because it worked. And they ended up delivering on a lot of what was essentially promised in the trailer. Um, you know, it looked like a great movie. I know that that's kind of like the baseline for what we should be accepting from big Marvel,
Yeah, it looked way better than
blockbusters,
a lot of Marvel
but it
films. And
actually looked good.
you want to know why? They
Bring
shot
it.
on fucking location.
And they
Kevin
did
demanded.
shit practically.
Yes.
Yes. But
Yes.
I mean, frequently with Marvel these days, they CGI everything, even cities, because they've got the budget. But it just looks like shit. It does not look good. I mean, you could do it and sprinkle it in, but you have some practical sets there too. Like if it's on a spaceship, fine. If it's in a city, there's no excuse. There's none. It does not look good when you CGI put in a city.
My mind still goes back to that one shot in the beginning of No Way Home
Yeah,
where
no way
where
home. That
Flash
was
Thompson is
egregious.
looking at his phone and he finds out that Peter Parker is Spider-Man, and the
Oh my
entire Queen's background around him is all digitally inserted on a fucking blue screen.
It's so terrible. It is
God.
Bad.
disgusting.
Like, just go pick a
Bad.
random street in New York and film there. Like, it'll be fine.
No one in the audience except for like 8 billion or 8 million people will know the difference.
And it won't matter because we will give you credit for shooting in a real place. Like, that's a good thing.
You'll get more points for that than CGIing something that you think looks good but doesn't.
Also, they just stress their editors. Like, you can't expect them to produce good CGI content when the entire movie requires it.
Yeah.
It's just an unreasonable
Quantumania.
workload. Yeah, Quantumania is the biggest example. And again, you can do it, but you need to have practical interiors and things like that that will reduce the bloat of CGI. You just can't have a movie filled with that. And this movie works because it feels much more real. Obviously, there is CGI in some parts, but like there is a lot that isn't, and it makes the film more grounded, especially for all these characters that are seemingly much more human than we've seen out of MCU characters before.
Yeah,
Some
the
guy in my theater said, "Oh, so it was a PSA for mental health."
it kind of was, and we can get into that. But just another note on the look of this film and it being more like we could almost feel the environment more in this one than more recent Marvel films. And I think that is a reflection of the characters in the film. I think having these grounded sort of street level heroes and this physical environment that they're interacting in, it's less fantastical, less sort of big picture, you know, comic
Yeah, I
booky
mean, obviously
world.
it's big on some scale, but not like typically Marvel's like the entire universe is going to end if you don't succeed.
Right, and
It's
the
like, all
Russo
right,
brothers post credits scene in this film, which we will get to, certainly implies that. But
This one was just New York, so it's okay.
yeah. It's like, yeah, the void could destroy everything, but we're focusing on New York right now, guys.
if you
And honestly,
still
that
live in New York in the MCU after all that New York has been through,
That's crazy.
Insane.
You
They
see,
were gonna
no.
nuke your city, man. They were gonna nuke it.
Yeah, forget about the aliens. Your own government wanted to nuke you.
I would
That
go
was
out there like
early. That wasn't even like that was pre-Thanos.
but
Four
I was
years
gonna bring
in.
up I was gonna bring up that I think that that's one of the main reasons that Avengers worked so well is that it was like a discernible location. It's like, all right, you're fighting for New York. That's kind of like a synonym for America for a lot of people, especially with Ellis Island and all that stuff. And when you get,
Internationally, when you think of America, you think of New York City.
yeah, and when you get to stuff like Sokovia, it's like, what? What is that?
All right, you can make up Sokovia in the MCU in Phase 2, but you can't talk about Latveria until Doomsday, presumably.
Yeah, well, they just got the rights to the Fantastic Four, I don't know, a few years ago.
Yeah.
It would be a little awkward to bring it up somewhere. But I don't know. We got Robert Downey Jr. as Doctor Doom. Like, what do you expect?
At the risk of rehashing the conversation we had 3 months ago with Captain America Brave New World and how we sort of devolved into RDJ as Doom, um, this movie gets my hopes up for Marvel moving forward. And Max, you and I have talked about this. My
They
hopes are
immediately
immediately
cannot
dashed.
have Fantastic Four.
You just got to remember that Robert Downey Jr. is coming back as Doctor Doom, and it
Yeah, no, I have hope for Fantastic Four. It's like they've just screwed themselves over by doing this stupid casting for a guy that literally is in a mask 99% of the time. Like, you spent for a face. You spent like $120 million
so
over two movies for
what's the point of having his face under the mask if you're not going to do this dramatic reveal of it?
Well, because they are
also
going to do a dramatic reveal, or they're going to completely revamp
also
everything and
true,
spend
also
most of the
true.
time without his mask on.
But also, like, what's his
That'd be
voice gonna
terrible.
be? Is he gonna do a, Eastern European accent or something? Or is he just gonna
No,
be
it's
Tony
going to
Stark?
be I am Iron Man. It's going to be Tony Stark, just in a different mask. They're going to put a different voice filter on to be a different type of mask.
Instead of AC/DC, he's gonna be playing Black Sabbath.
All right, that we can put in the good idea pile. The bad idea pile is up here, good idea pile is down here, but that is on the
That's
good
the
idea pile.
that's the one good idea that's come out of Doomsday, and it hasn't even come from Marvel.
It came from the Bentry.
Yeah.
A Petri. Oh, speaking of
I'm
which, we
changing
should
your
bring
contact
up.
name in my phone to that. You've had so
Oh
many
my,
names on this podcast. The Bentry is the one that I'm changing your contact name to.
the Sentry is one of my favorite heroes. Um, and it actually makes sense that they introduce him with this movie because this is like a introduction to more, I don't know, serious issues in a superhero film. We're talking about like, alcoholism and just suicidal thoughts and a lot of dark stuff. And that was when they introduced the Sentry, to my knowledge. That was one of their main points. DC did something similar with Vertigo, but like introducing more mature characters. And I thought it was interesting that they kept in that he was a meth addict. That is originally how he gets his powers, for those that don't know. Um,
He does a shit
he's
ton of
originally,
meth and it gives him godlike powers.
no, well, he does a lot of meth and, stimulants and stuff. And I think he breaks in um, to like a lab and steals this serum because he thinks, maybe it'll get him high. And he turns to the Sentry. Um, but he's just an interesting character. Like he is probably the strongest character they will ever, reveal as at least as a hero slash villain, I guess. But the interesting thing is he's a very like Jekyll and Hyde situation. It's like if he starts, getting depressed and getting in that dark space, he will turn into the void. If not, then he's the Sentry, the greatest hero with the greatest morals. It's a very interesting hero to have. Um, and I
And
always thought it was
you just know that the Russos are going to do some dumb shit like let's have him be able to control when he turns into the void and he can shadow eyes all of the Doombots or whatever.
Well, there is already a comic like that where he merges with the Void and becomes Dark Sentry, but
They're
in
gonna
the
do that.
comics he actually has like these
They're gonna
tentacle
do that.
arms. It's pretty cool. If they do that, I would be surprised. No, they're gonna do something stupid. Like, I don't even know. I can't even fathom what they're going to do with the Sentry.
I mean, I feel like the more reasonable and realistic approach is they just treat him like Captain Marvel in Endgame and like not let him show up until like the very end of the movie, maybe.
Well, the other thing is the Sentry is normally like a pro and con where, Captain Marvel shows up and it's like, all right, we're good. The Sentry shows up and it's like, all right, we're good. And then it's like
Void
somebody
shows up.
dies or something, or they manipulate him. He's not got the strongest mental, so villains have like abused that side of him, and then he just turns into the worst villain ever.
Yeah. I mean, we see
Thanks.
that in, I think it was towards the end of the movie when they're going off and he says, I gotta kind of stay in the back and, you know, because I
Oh
can't,
That
yeah.
was in
yeah.
the credit scene, right?
Yeah,
Like
was that the first
we could use a
episode?
we could use a
Yeah,
sentry right now. And he was like, "No, I gotta stay Bob, otherwise the void might come out."
yeah.
It's interesting. And Lewis Pullman does such a great job playing essentially three different characters in this film,
Hmm.
Bob, Sentry, and the Void. Because as similar as like Bob and Sentry are, just not really in appearance. Yeah, in appearance, I would say, other than the suit and the blonde hair. Um,
But yeah,
the,
they are
the
different
demeanor is different.
personalities.
The characterization is different. They have similar personalities, but it's I don't know. It almost feels like the god complex and the moral superiority of Sentry really came through in that essentially one scene that we got with the character when he's kicking the Thunderbolts asses in the Watchtower. So I mean credit to Lewis Pullman for being able to differentiate enough in all these different versions of the same guy on his first go.
Yeah. No, he did a great.
Especially, I mean, Stephen Yeun was originally cast in the role, and I would have loved to have seen him play this character, these characters. But Lewis Pullman is no slouch, and him stepping into this role, after casting had already begun, joining the production and then delivering these performances, is absolutely tremendous.
I think it's yeah, I mean, he's definitely a strong actor. His father was really good at roles like this that demanded like a sort of loose-sidedness and at other times a very like serious nature. I know I watched Lost Highway not that long ago, and he was very, very good in that, having both like just this very loose nature of him, and then this very like serious, depressed, angry side of him. And yeah, it worked really well as a Sentry. Also, the comics treated as like three people too. There's like Bob, and there's the Sentry, and there's the Void. The Sentry's. I thought it was interesting they made him more of like a god complex, even as a Sentry, because normally he's just supposed to be like, you know, just a very good hero, the greatest hero, until somebody demeans him or makes him feel bad, and then he turns into the greatest villain.
Well, they sort of lend the narrative to that god complex idea with Valentina saying, stronger than all of the Avengers. And it's like, well, Thor is an Avenger, and if I'm stronger than all the Avengers, he's a god. I'm a god.
Yeah, and I also kind
The
of thought
logic follows.
maybe it was half like his start to turning into the void is like, all these delusions of grandeur and
It's
realizing this person's
it's an
abusing.
indication of the mental instability of the character.
And then they do the kill switch, which did absolutely nothing except turn
No, it
him
made it
liquid.
worse.
It made him worse.
Suddenly we have
Which
this terrifying shadow threat engulfing Manhattan.
which is poetic in its own right for
I mean,
It
politics,
looks so
for a lot
cool
of
too.
things.
would you
Like the
rather?
design of the void was so cool.
Oh, it was very cool.
Yeah.
It looked great.
Yeah.
I wish they hadn't ruined it in the trailers, but maybe that's just a lesson to stop watching trailers.
They
Yeah.
gotta stop with these trailers. Like I know they want to get people into the theaters, but it does a disservice to the movie as well
I've
because
got
then you ruin things.
one more theatrical trip before Final Reckoning, and I have not seen the trailer yet. Or rather, I've not watched the trailer yet.
Like there's ways to do
Do
it.
you like leave the theater or something?
I just completely dissociate, close my eyes, and think about other shit.
I will tell you, like
Been doing it for 6 months.
that's actually it's a good trailer. The one that I've seen in the theaters. It's a good trailer because it doesn't really show you too much. It's just like it's the final thing.
None of the
Ethan
Mission
Hunt.
Impossible ones really show off too much. I think Final Reckoning was kind of the exception with the big, the big stunt. But
Dead
again,
Reckoning, you
like
mean?
Oh,
they're gonna
Dead Reckoning,
showcase
yeah.
something like that,
Yeah,
right?
they
Like
should not have
they're
done
gonna,
that. But I think they learned their lesson because they didn't show very much in
yeah,
the trailers I've
Yeah.
seen.
yeah.
So back to the new Avengers, I mean the Thunderbolts. What do you guys think of the sort of not really bait and switch on the name, but the fact that they revealed this team as the new Avengers at the end of the movie?
So what I assume was happening was that they were intending to do like an actual Thunderbolts team with Thaddeus Ross, and then they sort of changed. William Hurt died. They recast him. They changed up his nature and everything. And I'm sure they were going to be revealed as like the new Avengers after that anyway. So they figured they just stick with the name. And I don't know what it's going to be called, but it is released on like digital or whatever. That's I have no idea what it's actually called. Is it Thunderbolt
I think
still?
it is
I think
Thunderbolts.
it's still
Disney released a
Thunderbolts.
statement that said the official name is Thunderbolts, but it's just the new Avengers is the Thunderbolts spelled out. It was a really convoluted way of saying it's still the Thunderbolts, but like it's also the new Avengers too. It's
Well, I
both.
guess the movie is the Thunderbolts.
Yeah,
The team is now the new
new
Avengers.
Avengers. Yeah.
Yeah, that's whatever.
It would be great to give us a movie in between this and Doomsday with Sam Wilson recruiting his Avengers.
No, no,
Because
I saw your
hold
Twitter
on, I
post.
know we went back and forth on Twitter, and I will tell you again to shut the fuck up. The situation with Sam Wilson presented in Brave New World is I want you to rebuild the Avengers. And now suddenly we've got this other Avengers team. We've got the whole conversation about the copyright and all that bullshit at the end in the post credit scene. And now we're just gonna go into Doomsday and who's on Sam's team?
That's actually, I think, a good thing. We've been spoiled too much as to who's who and who's going to be in what. We need a little surprise, like even if it's not a surprise, 'cause it'll probably be leaked, but I
Or
don't
they'll
know.
just announce it. Like it
Or
might
they'll just
they'll
announce
just
it.
announce it.
Shang-Chi, I need you to help me
But I don't
stop
need a
Doom.
movie about recruiting people. We already had Civil War, and then actually had like actual stakes at the time. I think that would just be too stupid, and
Civil
they
War
need
is
to
so good.
they need to focus on like not doing random stuff like that. They have to be willing to have stuff off camera because people are tired. Even I'm tired. Even the most loyal MCU fans are tired of watching like random stuff because you have to, because it might have something in it. It's like, what do you mean I'm watching She-Hulk for the greater context of the MCU? I thought the show was all right,
The
but
show
this
was all
is a
right.
it's a stupid thing, right? You should not have everything reliant on everything else. You need to have them at least be somewhat independent. like the original phases. It's like you got
Like there
some
were
things that connect, but
it was like actual Easter eggs. Like there was one or two
exactly.
things in the films that would kind of stand out to people. It wasn't one every 6 minutes that, will never come back.
But
And
that's
I
the
think they
thing.
were a lot better.
Since since the multiverse saga began, we have been given so much stuff that we don't know if it's ever going to come back.
No. And that's the problem is they stretch themselves so like thin doing all this random shit
It's
that
so
apparently they
broad.
can't do a Blade,
So
TV show or movie or anything. Um,
It's been in production for longer than Agatha House of or what was it?
Agatha
That
all along.
Oh yeah, Agatha All Along was announced after the creation of WandaVision, and they already put out a full season of TV about it. And
yep.
it has been in production or has been in
Blade was
development
announced like fall of
like
2019.
forever.
Like it was a few months after Endgame when they announced all of the Phase 4 stuff.
Yeah,
Blade was in there.
yeah,
And they showed that postcard scene in Eternals with
yep.
uh, what's his
Mahershala
face?
Ali.
Well, apparently, yeah, he was supposed to be in that. I don't know. I have no idea. It's just you can't have all this stuff and it not lead anywhere. Like if you want to do those shows, that's fine, but you need to have a better like vision. Kang showing up at random places was never going to be it, even if Jonathan Majors did not choke a woman. Um, it just does not work. You can't have everything be that connected. Nobody wants that even. You want these like, things alongside. It's like, oh, what if they bump it to here? Oh, what if they bump it to here? But you don't want it to always be like, oh, this guy's gonna come here. There's no surprise,
We
there's no
we just
excitement
want
anymore.
a cast with great chemistry shot on practical locations. Is
Yeah.
that too much to ask?
And Thunderbolts does a good job because none of these characters are the most popular. Um,
They are
maybe
now.
Winter Soldier's probably the most popular, at least
Bucky.
historically. Because he's an old character, but the actors were good, the screenwriting was good. You put together a good movie, and that excited people. And you had the Sentry in there, and there's like tons of ramifications for that and comic stuff to go think about. But you're not just like telling people where you're going, and you're not sacrificing the quality of the movie for, doing something in the future. It's like all these movies before have just been like, all right, well, this is going to lead somewhere. Oh, yeah, and that is going to lead somewhere else, and then this is going to continue to lead somewhere. It's like there's no satisfaction here. You have to have a climax. Like you cannot have the climax after 10 movies or something. 10 movies and 5 Disney Plus shows. That's so stupid. Do more stuff like this. This is what made people like Marvel movies to begin with. They were
I
all
would
their
watch
own
a
story.
Thunderbolts trilogy. Give me another movie with this cast.
Yeah, and I think it works like Guardians. It feels like a nice found family sort of team.
So you bring up the idea of a found family and I mean, people expected this movie to be Suicide Squad or The Suicide Squad. How does this movie differentiate itself from The Suicide Squad, from Guardians of the Galaxy, even from the first Avengers movie, where these characters are coming together for the first time and forming an unlikely team?
Well, very different style. Are we talking James Gunn's Suicide Squad?
I haven't seen the original shitty version, so let's
I
go
have
with
not.
James Gunn. Let's go with James Gunn.
I mean, that one is very like that's typical James Gunn. It's like horror comedy almost. This one is not meant to be like it's not as much dark humor. Like people die in the Suicide Squad. They really took the name and rolled with it. So many people die randomly. Um, yeah, this is meant to be like they killed one person, and I think some people were upset Taskmaster died so early.
Olga
The
Kurylenko
only
got one line, which is more than she got in Black Widow.
yeah, the only thing I can think of is that they just thought that there were too many members to do all this backstory for. Because obviously all these people have been in stuff before, but it's not like they were the center, getting their proper character development. They were more all set up to be an antagonist. Um, but yeah, I thought it was a strange choice to just sort of kill her and then sort of like not talk about her again, given how close all of them were.
I don't
That
know.
would be my only
They
criticism for the movie.
Yelena is mourning her at times for the rest of the movie.
Yeah, it's just for everything else, they get very serious about everything and caring about each other. It seemed like someone that important to that story of Yelena and Natasha would get a little bit more respect. Like it really seemed like it was something they needed to cut. It didn't feel like an authentic beat to me.
Yeah. I don't
But
know if
again,
like
the rest of it was quite good. I feel like it was just a case of they did not have enough time to deal with. I mean, Taskmaster could have done a lot of stuff with Yelena. We didn't get much from some of the other members, like Ghost, didn't really exist in the movie. And
Ghost
it was
and
already,
US Agent didn't really have a lot to do here.
yeah.
It
And
was
it was
more
already 2 hours, and you're dealing with like Bob's being introduced, and then you're dealing with his mental illness and his grief and all that stuff. I think it came to be that it would probably just be too long to properly do all that stuff.
and it
Which
really, you're getting introduced to all these characters, but it really sort of became Yelena, Alexei, and Bucky's movie.
and Bob's
And
like the
and
heart of
Bob.
this movie, honestly.
And Bob. Mostly Bob in the third act.
I
But
feel
yeah,
like I mean, he shows up very early on, and it's just sort of like he's the guy. He's like, all right, this random guy is here. We're all gonna protect. Except for John Walker. He's like, oh, great idea, genius.
Bobby. Which
But even John Walker,
I don't know if you guys picked up on this, but Walker calling him Bobby, and then when we go into Bob's place in the void, his abusive father called him Bobby.
Yeah, I could have seen that one coming from the moment he started calling him Bobby in the vault. Like that was obviously coming. And then the moment we get Walker's sort of moment up at the ledge, when he gets touched by Bob in the outside of the vault, like that's coming. Like he was a shitty father, shitty husband. Like that's part of his character. That's part of his characterization in this movie. And like I think it's okay that we don't get I mean, I think I liked the way that they wrote John Walker in this film.
Agreed.
Right. He's coming off of the last moment we see him basically in The Falcon and the Winter Soldier is the decapitation scene of and well not really. I mean that's episode 4, right? So
Yeah.
he
um
shows up again.
He
yeah, I
gets a
mean,
little bit
he
of
doesn't
redemption at the
disappear, but
end.
like the biggest like the big moment, the big turn
Right.
in that show was that scene.
And Ava brings that up very
Yeah,
early on.
yeah, yeah.
I thought it was nice how they melded like the comedy with the dark aspects. It's like,
Because it's still believable, right, that he is an absolute dick. He is. But he will still he is still a soldier at heart trying to save people. Like he will still go do it.
yeah, I didn't read much U.S. Agent comics ever, but from what I remember him, he's pretty much always a dick. It's just he's a dick with, like a good heart. He just, yeah, he's a lot like Bob, where he just like loses himself and depression and anger and things like that, and just can't be the person that is as honorable and as good as Captain America. And also, he's just a dick sometimes. Like yeah, his entire character is just making fun of people, but he'll also protect them, which I think is kind of nice. I mean, partially his issues are like they're so far away from the movie. I think it is tough to like deal with some of these things. It's like, yeah, you could bring it up, but facing that stuff you can't really do in this movie. Like those things are too far apart. It's like Yelena is struggling to like live. It's like that's pretty easy to, find something and just
And her
find,
dad is there. Like,
yeah, her dad is there. You have a bigger bond
yeah.
in this movie.
God,
I mean, Bob,
that scene between Alexei and Yelena where she just breaks down and says that she's not okay, and then they both like recommit to saving the city and saving the world. It's a great fucking scene, and they act. Florence Pugh and David Harbour act the shit out of that moment.
yeah,
One of
no,
my favorite scenes in the movie.
she's very good in this movie, and she gets a lot to do, so it helps because you can actually have a real character development. And again, probably a reason that you cut a lot of the stuff that they did. I'm sure they had more planned for the other characters, but given how much happened, it's like, yeah, that would be pretty tough to include so much character development for so many different characters.
Yeah, they were talking. I think it was Jake Schreier. He was talking about how they had to cut the trauma rooms for all the characters that they had an idea they get dropped and they move through them, kind of like and they end up in Bob's at the end, but they just didn't have the time to do that, obviously.
I mean, that's
Yeah,
an
it's like
extra 15
they
minutes in the movie
teased a
that
little bit.
At
completely slows
least,
it down.
at least, yeah,
And also they'd have to introduce some of that stuff or like
yeah.
comment on it. It's like it's much easier to focus on, all right, this is kind of Yelena's movie, honestly.
Hmm.
But also the flashback in Ant-Man and the Wasp, which is 7 years ago by now, shows us Ava's tragic backstory. The beginning 15 minutes of Black Widow show us a little bit of what Yelena and Alexei went through. We get the John Walker backstory at the beginning of Falcon and Winter Soldier and at times throughout this movie. Bucky is Bucky. We know his deal.
Yeah, no, Bucky doesn't need,
We don't
he's
really
good.
No
need
need to explore
to
that.
Also,
see
he's the
all of
one
the
that like
trauma.
has already solved all this. Like he's confronted his demons already.
Right, and
Again, if you watch
that
the
was what
Falcon.
was so great about the last couple episodes of Falcon and Winter Soldier was Bucky sort of addressing his inner demons and coming to terms with everything that he had done.
Yeah, and I thought that show was pretty well done. It had its issues with I think the Flag Smashers were
There's your chance to bring
not
in
the best.
Latveria.
Latveria, let's go. Did they have the
Flag
rights back?
Smashers,
They
right
probably
there.
did. Yeah, I don't know.
Hmm. Weren't they in some like nondescript European country? Or what?
Probably.
Yeah, I
Like
think they were.
Sokovia.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't remember. I don't think I don't think Sokovia was ever in the Marvel comics.
No, I think they made that up for Age of
Made it up for
Ultron.
the MCU.
I'm pretty sure they made it up because they didn't have Latveria,
Yeah, I think that's
which is
exactly
like right next to Romania, I think.
Yeah.
yeah,
I don't know.
yeah.
Why don't you
Yeah,
just set in Romania?
I remember in the trailer, I don't think that they ever called it Sokovia for Age of Ultron. So when they like had the cast like Baron Strucker's fortress and them fighting it, they were like, oh my God, they're in Latveria or something.
And that's how you do a movie trailer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta look it up and make sure I'm not wrong. It just feels like something they made up. It's just existed only in the
I
MCU
mean,
in my mind for so long.
they've made
Yeah.
up whole characters. It wouldn't surprise me if they made up a country.
I think they've only made one character so far.
Coulson was original. Maria Hill was original to the
No,
MCU.
no,
Wait, no,
no.
not Maria Hill. Who am I thinking of? I know Coulson was. Who was the? There was one other. She was introduced early on. I'm gonna remember as soon as we're done with the episode,
You know.
and it doesn't matter. But they've created stuff. Sokovia, Phil
They've
Coulson,
created a
etc.
few.
Yeah.
I remember they created that Kawari for What If?
Kahori
Kahori.
for What If
Um,
season two.
yeah, I know they made that one. Yeah, Phil Coulson is an authentic original character for it. Maria Hill, yeah, definitely not.
In the comics, yes, I misspoke. Excuse me. Wise ass.
Hey, you listened to her, not me.
Fine. Excuse me. Um,
Um,
yeah, this
yeah, I
movie
don't.
is. It's a ton of fun. I really enjoyed it. I would see it in a theater again.
Yeah, you've
I
got time. You can see it in IMAX still.
It will lose its IMAX spot to Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning in about 2 weeks. And it took Sinners IMAX
I
screen
know. It was so rough
weeks
for
after
me to
Sinners
watch
came
that.
out.
Oh my God.
I wish they were further apart. Sinners was so good.
I
Arguably a
mean,
better IMAX
Dead Reckoning
experience.
was in IMAX screens for a week, and then Oppenheimer came out.
That's
The
Yeah.
true.
release
But
schedule is the release schedule is the release schedule.
that was fucked by some of the other stuff going on in Hollywood.
Yeah.
This one they had a chance. They had a choice. I blame David Zaslav.
You blame David Zaslav for everything.
Well, he did release Sinners, which
That's true.
good for him, but you should have done a better job with this release date.
And his people sold Coyote vs. Acme to Ketchup Entertainment,
Yeah, well,
finally.
that was stupid. Like, why
That was
are
an
you?
unforced error. Like you're literally dropping the ball on your most famous IP.
Yeah, I'm
Like
sorry, but like, why are you selling your legacy IP? That's embarrassing to me. It
It
cost
is.
$30 million to make. Release the fucking movie.
He'll make it back in 2 weekends.
Dude, you made it back selling the movie. I think they bought it for like 60.
It
They
was
bought it
40.
for more than 30
50,
million.
I
They bought it
think.
for
It was
40.
50 or 55. Oh,
All right, it's more. You made $10 million,
More.
man.
More.
It's
good money.
clearly worth more than $30 million. Release the fucking movie.
And
And
now we're
people
going
are
to get
gonna
it
go
next
see it.
summer.
We'll get it. It's just
Yeah.
that's a Warner Brothers. That was one of their first IPs, like Looney Tunes and all that stuff.
And
How are
now
you?
y'all got to go see Coyote vs. Acme when it's in
We do.
theaters.
We need to make sure it makes like $1 billion and make him feel so terrible and stupid because he is stupid.
He
Talk
is
about
very
a
stupid.
Marvel movie and somehow I find a way.
You brought him up.
Well, you brought up Sinners.
That's true. Oh, we were talking about IMAX. Um, Before we wrap up, I do want to talk about the credit scene and not Alexei at the supermarket talking about his Wheaties box, which felt like a classic, like mid-credit scene. Doesn't matter for anything. Just let the actor have fun for a couple minutes and move on.
I love those. Those are great.
It was like
I
the
mean,
shawarma scene in
yeah,
Avengers.
shawarma
Yeah,
was a legendary one.
Yeah. Like it was stupid, but it was funny. I enjoyed
That's
it.
fun.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah.
it's me. I'm about to
Um,
And
leak
then, I
these
mean,
box.
the
yeah,
one
we
that
got
matters, like, I don't know. We, I think we probably kind of knew that that was already going to happen at the end of Fantastic Four. We knew it
Well,
wasn't it wasn't
if
the main universe. They had to get there somewhere. I mean, they're sure as hell not transporting everybody to the
also,
Fantastic
I'm
Four
pretty sure the end
universe.
of Fantastic Four is now kind of confirmed that their universe is going to be destroyed.
or at the very least, Galactus is gonna eat their world.
That's the same thing.
Yeah.
Universe being destroyed, one planet being destroyed, not the same
I
thing.
saw a theory that Galactus may be a universe eater. In the I mean in the comics, like each universe would have its own Galactus. So if they're doing this multiverse thing, I think it actually would make sense to have him eat. I don't know, maybe he's eating like the what do they call them? Nexus beings, the
Anchor beings.
anchor
Anchor
beings.
beings.
Yeah,
It's
and they just
Nexus
happen to be
events,
on,
I think.
yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
But maybe he eats those, and it's like, all right, the universe dies. I'm assuming that's where they're going because it must be something more than just the Earth is getting eaten.
Ben Grimm is the Fantastic Four's anchor being, and we must protect him at all costs.
I
Man,
would believe that. I'm so excited to see Evan's performance. Oh my God.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Just going back to Thunderbolts because our discussion about Fantastic Four reminded me, but it's like that one scene when they're just saving people and they get that acknowledgement. Like we're getting two Marvel movies back to back and then Superman that have already showcased the love that people have for superheroes that like is kind of shoved to the back in a lot of these movies, and it's just nice to get that kind of that get that feeling back.
yeah,
Yeah, agreed 100%.
movies, they need fans. You gotta have that.
Yep.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see these new characters interact with the legacy characters, um, and even just the legacy MCU characters too.
Alan
So
Cumming.
yeah, apparently Alan Cumming said something in an interview the other day
Yeah. Yeah,
about
he
how
said
he's
he
going to
was like
punch Pedro
slapping
Pascal in
Pedro
the face.
Pascal.
So Nightcrawler and Mr. Fantastic are going to go at it in Doomsday. That'll be fun.
I wonder if
Um,
it's because he's not Catholic enough.
And did you guys see that Jake Shear's in talks to direct the
the X-Men
upcoming
movie,
film? Yeah.
Yeah, that
huge if true.
that might be a that's a tough task.
It's a tall order for sure.
It's one thing to like make an X-Men movie, but to make one that's like differentiated enough from
The one
the
25 years ago.
originals. Yeah, it's like X-Men, Days of Future Past and First Class and stuff like that. It was like, oh yeah, these are the younger versions, and so they kept their like mannerisms and stuff. That's a tough.
You're going to
That's a
go at it
tough
with a
one to
new
do.
cast too, probably. So that's
Well, they
gotta.
have to. You
Have to.
can't. Yeah, you
Yeah.
cannot just rehash the cast. That's not the
Yeah.
problem. They're
I don't
not
know.
going to
We're
do.
getting like 100-year-old Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen in Doomsday.
Well, yeah, for Doomsday, but not for their
But
own.
I mean, they
They
haven't
want
even
something to
announced.
continue on after that.
They haven't even announced. I don't, to my knowledge, they haven't even
They haven't
announced
announced an X-Men
formal
movie.
projects. So it's like, this is going to be well after Secret Wars.
Yeah,
So, this is not something that is going to be coming
this
to it.
may be like, I think Secret Wars, they may blow up the universe and restart it.
They should
So
have they should have done that already, but okay.
I think they needed a good enough reason to canonically do it.
Oh, so just the reason is we suck so bad, and then we finally start to turn the
Let's
corner with two films,
start
and we're just gonna go right back to
over.
dog shit with Doomsday. Great.
Yeah.
Good for you. Just as your rival DC is looking like it's starting to pick up steam itself. Like
Let's.
we're in a great spot
I'm
right.
I'm optimistic about Superman 2, but let's wait to see it before we say DC is taking off.
Okay, but like the thing is that the DCU has started. It's
Yeah,
all
it's actually like restarted. It's like exciting. It's like, oh, what's gonna happen?
like,
But
and the way
Marvel's
that they're
like,
moving through projects is really interesting. Like they're announcing stuff, but it's also already in advanced stages of development. Like there's scripts for everything before it gets greenlighted. Like that should be the standard for these big studio blockbusters. Like
yeah,
that
Marvel's turned
almost
into
right.
playing catch up. It's
Yeah.
not good.
Like that they're in the position that DC was in. They were panicking and they still might be, but
Oh, they're definitely still panicking.
you
I
know,
think it's just good news for them that Thunderbolts is getting good reviews and doing all right. But Fantastic Four needs to do well, and then biggest thing for them, need the Avengers movies to do well. Those
mhm.
things determine everything. Those movies need to
Because
make
Doomsday will make $1 billion.
Yeah.
It's a matter of, oh, this is a 3.1 out of 5 on Letterboxd. This is a 60% on Rotten Tomatoes. This is a 5.8 out of 10 on IMDb. Like this, it needs to have the same critical and audience response in terms
That's
of.
center audience response, not critical response. It's so silly. Have you seen Minecraft?
No, I haven't, but you do give me an opportunity to bring up the chicken jockey for about
No,
6 episodes
no.
in a row now. Thank you, Benjamin. With that being said, Thunderbolts is currently playing in movie theaters. At the end of the movie, they reveal the new title of New Avengers. Stay for both credit scenes. See this movie in IMAX. It's a lot of fun. I think we can all, we spent the last 44 and a half minutes recommending this movie to all of you. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
check it out. We'll toss it a recommendation.
yeah. Good movie.
Um, we will be back next week revisiting one of our favorite actors, Josh Hartnett, in his new action comedy, Fight or Flight. Should be a lot of fun. In the meantime, check out some good movies, support your local movie theaters, support physical media. We'll see you for Fight or Flight next week. Have a good night.
Good night.
Good night.